Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. On time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Techie Joe, and with me tonight, and fresh off his most recent facelift, is the former chauffeur for Betty White's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother, Aeson Knight.
Very cute. Very cute.
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Ashley. Oh, fuck. I wish.
Oh, believe me. Well, let's start with a warning for tonight's show. Is if something bad was going to happen, it was the worst time for it. So he's stoned. Basically, is where we're at this evening. He tried to go to bed without television last night. And he's had this wonderful rule for the last while now, was that he wasn't taking a sleeping pill if he could avoid it. And last night he could not avoid it. And he had his first sleeping pill in like a month. And he has been fun today.
Yes, because we used to have periods where Aeson was just stupid. Okay? We call it Aeson brain dead. And we thought it was Aeson's sugar. Well, it's not Aeson's sugar. It's his sleeping pill. And after being off of it a month and just not taking it if I didn't need to, let's reduce the medications in Aeson's system and boost his performance. Yeah, great universal April Fool's joke. I've been fucking out of stoned all of my life. Guys, today, literally, I got 3 things done. My tank is on empty. And I'm like downing triple mocha espressos.
Mm-hmm. Basically, the plan for the rest of this evening until he's doing better is to hand him a one of those dumb blonde cards, where it says C reverse and then the other side says C reverse. Yeah. That should keep him entertained until this is over.
Well, actually, the plan is do the show and take my happy ass back to bed and sleep this shit off.
All right, they caught on. Hold on.
Yes, they caught on. Yes, guys, we're having some fun with April Fools.
Yes.
Yes. And Joe's getting some practice on tarot readings tonight.
What? No, we were going to let you do them. We figured that would be even worse than me doing them right now.
Okay. Well, we'll see. I mean, it is inherent, and there might not be filters. But no. So it's been a wild day. We did get the Under the Table and Dreaming out. It is in your Patreon boxes. And we got the Outer Circle out to the mailing list and social media. We haven't gotten the parts to go to King yet. That'll have to happen tomorrow. And we had a lovely new moon chat, and shots from that will be up later.
Yeah. Or at least that's what he thinks he has done. Otherwise, you may just have random selections from his porn folder.
No, because I don't have a porn folder. Back in 2023, if I need a porn folder, that's bad. I'll just go download fresh stuff.
I'm sorry, it's what year?
2022.
There you go. It's that one. Try that one.
Yeah.
Stick with that one. Oh my God. Oh, heaven help him. He's struggling, guys. He's struggling.
It's all right. What's our lead story tonight?
Oh, what's our lead story? Oh my God. Oh, so is Downton Abbey a gateway to hell?
Possibly. I mean, PBS normally shows different gateways.
Fair. Oh. So yeah. So Downton Mill's an old industrial site used as sets for the popular English series and spin-off movies, mysteriously erupted into hellish flames and burned to the ground despite 543 functioning sprinklers, just weeks after $200,000 worth of relics used as props vanished. No one's officially blaming evil spirits, but Lady Fiona Caravan, the real-life countess who reigns over Highclere Castle, insists the place TV fans know as Downton Abbey is haunted. Lady Fiona claims folks visiting her ancestral home keep hearing footsteps, but when we've called out, nobody's there. A priest blessed one ghost I saw and wished him on his way. I live with people who've lived here before. Fiona, who works as a financial auditor, also reveals our Labradors are very sensitive to the spirits. I saw one particular ghost, a footman, while I was with my young son. The older dog was on the other side of very heavy doors, and he went ballistic, barking crazily. He was as concerned and worried as I was. There was a footman here during the Victorian period who committed suicide not far from where I'd seen him. He'd been having an affair with a nursemaid who became pregnant. Sadly, their baby died, and he killed himself. Yeah, I think I'll go with it. It's a cursed building.
It probably is. No, it's not actually from The Onion. I decided to go with the trusty true
National
best
Enquirer.
classified ads possible, and
Yes.
that would be the Enquirer.
Yes. The National Enquirer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What's your opinion?
Well, is that, any other Enquirer, since it's not from the Enquirer region of France, is just, spicy onions.
Well, I understand that, but what's your opinion on Downton Abbey being a gateway to hell?
No, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's just unfortunately a very old property with a lot of history and probably a lot of weird sounds, odd noises, and crazy things associated with it.
No, I'll give it that. I also think that, yeah, it's probably haunted. Do I think it's the gateway to hell? No. Do I think that they pissed off a few witches over the centuries and got cursed? Right.
Fair.
Furthermore, if you want to bless the place, you really don't want to call it a Catholic priest or an England priest. You're going to need to call up a druid. I understand you have a registry for one. You at least have one witch in Great Britain that you could be calling, because she has actually been the first witch to be able to take a tax exemption for her spell work. Call her up. I'm sure she'll come down and make the castle all happy and nice after you rebuild it, since it burst into flames. My question is who did you turn away?
True.
Yep.
True. Either that or, some really old electrical just finally had it.
Yeah, true.
I mean, $200,000 in renovations really isn't all that. Or, sorry, no, it wasn't 200,000 renovations. Never mind. Do you ever read a story, but then your brain does a thing where it's trying to predict the next words, but then they're not the words you think you're going to read next? So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what would you like to take on next?
Oh, well, let's go with slightly boring news. Netflix is cracking down on password sharing, and here's what you need to know. So Netflix faced immediate backlash earlier this month after announcing that it was to begin making some subscribers pay an additional fee for sharing their account with users outside their household. Some users, especially younger ones, are left wondering how the change will affect their own bottom line. On the business front, I understand Netflix's move, but as a user, I find it frustrating, says Vel Mensah, a 33-year-old Netflix user in New Jersey. The outcry on Twitter was similar, with some saying they wouldn't use Netflix at all without being able to share an account. Netflix has turned to price increases to raise more money amid reports of slowed subscriber growth. Lost revenue from password sharing has affected the company's ability to, quote, invest in great new TV and films, it said. But it could risk alienating a large chunk of its 200 million plus paid subscriber base if it starts strictly enforcing anti-sharing policies. Netflix is the most popular in the United States with younger consumers who support password sharing much more than older generations. A 2021 survey conducted by tech research site Comparitech found that millennial and Gen Z users are around twice as likely as Gen X and baby boomers to both share their streaming passwords with non-paying friends and family and accept free access to others' accounts themselves. Oh, so fuck, the only reason for polyamory is dying.
No, it isn't.
Sorry, we've joked about this in the past that if you ever needed more of a reason to get behind polyamory, just look at the economy. Like polyamory, like your whole like dating goal is to find someone with online accounts you don't already have.
Okay, that's a cute joke. But, I'm going to be honest. If it goes to $25 a month, it's getting canceled.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because we're getting YouTube and YouTube Music for $28.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, with our AT&T, we have HBO Plus.
Yeah, HBO Max.
Oh, HBO Max. Sorry.
Yeah, we have HBO Max. We have YouTube Premium. We have Hulu, and currently Netflix and Prime. One of those is going within the next 2 months, and it'll be whichever one gets the least usage in this house.
Well, of course, I'm also sitting here thinking for $25, that's basically enough money for one of us to go to a movie theater and get a small soda and an even smaller popcorn. Maybe it is worth it. Honestly, I think AMC is keeping them in business. Just let's be
honestly, I think that we haven't I don't catch you. You very rarely watch Netflix. I don't find anything on there.
Well, that's a problem I've been having for a while. Is with so many services popping up and pulling their content over to their own streaming service, like poor fucking Netflix. And Hulu as well are both really struggling outside of their own content, like Netflix especially, with their personally produced content to actually fill up a lineup.
Yeah, and especially at $25.
Yeah, because now it's more like, okay, well, what fucking production companies are left?
Right.
That haven't pulled their content over and said, now we'll make our own money. Thanks. Screw that.
All right. And, Ashley brings up that it's now included into T-Mobile. Unfortunately, in West Virginia, T-Mobile is about as useless as a tin can on a string.
No, the tin can on a string is far more useful.
True.
Like, the fact that there's a T-Mobile store in West Virginia at all is kind of like the sickest joke ever.
Right.
Like, it gives you the illusion that We have T-Mobile service.
Yeah.
We do not.
Well, and they think that they've got the Sprint towers coming over, and I'm quite sure they bought that just to kill Sprint.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either that or they are trying to improve. But then again, Sprint in West Virginia has also been a joke.
Right.
It's like just take every major highway and run like a highlighter over it, and
Mhm.
that is your service area.
Right.
That's it. That's all you get.
Mhm.
If you are not, immediately, and I mean immediately adjacent to a highway, you most likely do not have service.
Right.
Like it's a joke. Like
It
Sprint
is.
service and T-Mobile service both have always been a joke. Like it cracked me up way back when I had Sprint service.
Mhm.
I literally, came home to West Virginia, and as long as I stayed on the interstate
Mhm.
or within like a couple of blocks of the interstate,
Right.
I have service. You move away from that by much more,
Mhm.
you have no service. You're roaming, you're bouncing off of whatever tower you can find.
Mhm.
And if there is a tower anywhere,
Right.
like it.
Yep.
Oh, that was
Ashley remembers when Sprint gave away a free year of service, and of course she had to take advantage. I mean, any possible person would, but no, it was crappy. It's still
oh yeah,
crappy. So it was shit buying shit that makes a shittier network.
oh yeah. Well, and I do have to point out, I'm with Ashley. Like Sprint was notoriously bad for dropping customers for roaming.
Right.
Like that was part of Sprint's whole deal. Is Sprint wanted all their customers to only ever use Sprint towers.
Mm-hmm.
You could roam, but it was one of those things of you talk about a carrier that really cares where the fuck you live.
Mm-hmm.
Sprint really cared where you live.
Mm-hmm.
Because and where you work and where you go to church and where you go to school, and like they want to make sure that you are using the least
Right.
amount of roaming. I went through that this my summer in West Virginia after getting Sprint service. It was a fight
Right.
because I got my service in Greensboro, came back to West Virginia, and so and I literally got it on the way out of town
Right.
to come home for the summer.
Right.
And oh my god, Sprint almost had a meltdown.
Right.
Because my first 3 months of service were all roaming.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no. That's not no.
Well, I'm with AT. We're with AT&T. We finally got a contract system. I hate their pricing. Like their pricing is outrageous, but they're at least functional. I don't have half the problems I normally have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are paying a little bit of a premium, yeah. Well, and I don't know how much we can say we hate their prices, because you do have to stop and back up their pricing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we do have 3 phones on payment arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
2 of those phones, because they're worth it, have insurance plans, and then all 3 have Next Up.
Right.
So, you start adding all the extras we have, that's where it comes in. All right. If we had, if we had bought our phones outright,
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have insurance on them, etc., we'd be looking at like 175 to 200 a month.
Right.
For 4 lines.
Right.
So.
And, we have Next Up. We have the ability to add a line if it gets to the point I have to go back to carrying 2 phones or a phone and tablet. We have a lot of flexibility with them. And, and they're always coming out with new plans, and we can always switch plans. Like, we're not stuck in our plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think the best part to me is the plan that I'm on.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me a lot more than we were getting.
Right.
in terms of both data and the ability to hotspot.
Right.
Like those are two things that I'm going, but for $50 a month, if you just zero in on that, well worth it.
Right.
Well worth it.
Right. And, you know, Ashley's got the Apple Watch and the 3 phones. I can
Mhm.
easily go switch to and get an Apple Watch and an Apple phone. If, you know, Apple's new Apple comes out with the glutometer that I want with it, I'm game.
Oh yeah. Oh, but yeah, so it takes a while to pay down the pretties.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, thankfully one of hers is an Apple Watch, so I'm hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like I have a question there, Ashley. Is the iWatch culture the same as like the other iDevice culture? And it's like the minute Apple shits something new out, does it just start to like that's it? Like everything that came before it is now dead or dying?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'll be upgrading this fall. Never mind. Yup. Oh, well, that was a good theory.
Right.
Okay. So you'll be upgrading your phone this fall. All right,
Mm-hmm.
got it. That's what I was asking. I wasn't sure where like the Apple Watch would be at.
Right.
Like if it was part of the whole iCycling that
Mm-hmm.
like the minute the next one comes out, everyone's like, this is garbage.
Right.
And here's the new one. Oh wow. So she had her Apple Watch Series 1 from 2017 until last winter. So yeah, that's a few years. Like that's a pay off your device, have many, many months of like happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh no, then I lost my replacement 3 months ago and just replaced it like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah. Oh, that sucks.
Yep. But no, Netflix is going to lose a lot of people, and we will probably be one of them.
I don't know that Netflix is gonna really well, and I don't know that Netflix is really gonna end up losing a lot of people exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like because most of what they'll be doing is, you know, forcing people to chuck, you know, the dead weight off their accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure a lot of exes will be getting in touch with exes to talk about, you know, the fact that they changed their password, and why. But I think most of what they're going to end up seeing is effectively a reduction in the use of their services.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they're going to necessarily see a subscriber increase.
Right.
Like it will probably be marginal.
Right.
Because most of what they're having a problem with is people sharing accounts.
Right.
Now there's the whole thing with Netflix though is that there was that time period in which they had been very open to the idea of what a household was. So if you were, you know, mom, dad, 2 kids with like, you know, another kid or 2 in college, you could all co-share that. That wasn't a big problem.
Right.
You know, but I think a lot of those kids just kept using mom and dad's account. And so now, like, you know, mom and dad are in California, kid 1 is in Wyoming, kid 2 is, you know,
in Tallahassee,
Texas, and has children. And, you know, they're also using mom and dad's account. And then one's, and it's like, okay, that wasn't what Netflix meant.
Right.
Like they were trying to be nice towards, you know, people who were in the original situation of like, well, I have a kid in college.
No.
You know,
I have a mother-in-law.
Yeah, you know, like they're not your biggest user or, you know, in like terms of your mother-in-law. Or it's one of those situations like poor broke college student, all right, cut them some slack. Let them, you know, use my account.
Exactly. All right. Let's talk about one of my favorite restaurants now being an ass.
Oh, one of your favorite restaurants is now an ass? Oh, no. So, yeah, why a leaked memo scandal is leading to an Applebee's boycott.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of fuel and food have strong ties. In 2021, supply chain issues caused the price of gas and foodstuffs to skyrocket, and many families felt this economic crunch, per NBC News. Rising gas costs have also affected the price of food in other countries. According to CP24, mounting diesel costs in Canada have influenced food prices, potentially by up to 35%. This inflation spells disasters for many, but one particular company has seemingly celebrated the skyrocketing cost of oil.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking cooking oil, we're talking crude oil.
Right.
So Forbes reports that Wayne Pankratz, an executive director of operations at Applebee's, recently sent out an email to a number of high-ranking colleagues in the company that enthusiastically spelled out how rising inflation, higher gas prices, and the end of bolstered unemployment benefits gives the Midwestern division of the company leverage when dealing with the restaurant chain's employees. Pankratz linked these factors to justify lower wages for the company's staff. Stimulus money is no more. Supplemental unemployment is no more, Pankratz wrote in the email, per Fortune. This benefits us as prices rise. People who were relying on unemployment money simply will have less money to spend. It will force people back into the workforce. If these sentiments didn't appear insidious enough, the memo only gets worse and has sparked a massive pushback against Applebee's.
Right.
Anyone who might give Pankratz the benefit of the doubt should have no sympathy after examining the email in full. Quote, most of our employee base and potential employee base live paycheck to paycheck, Pankratz wrote, according to Forbes. Any increase in gas prices cuts into their disposable income. As inflation continues to climb and gas prices continue to go up, that means more hours employees will need to work to maintain their current level of living. He went on to explain how economic conditions have also allowed Applebee's to outlast mom and pop competitor restaurants, and how the chain can take advantage of the workforce displaced as a result of government assistance measures ending. Yeah. So hashtag boycott Applebee's has started trending. All right.
Yeah, I'm liking some of these tweets.
I can only imagine. I like, the sad part is I think he literally got caught putting to words
Right.
what a lot of business owners and large business management
Mm-hmm.
already thinks, feels, and believes.
Right.
He just had the audacity
Right.
to spell it out.
Right.
Is that, hey, the more we fuck people with, lower wages,
Mm-hmm.
the more we can fuck people with lower wages.
Right.
It's a downward spiral. That's all it like.
Yeah.
That's and yes, companies do take advantage of that.
Right. Well, and the company has fired him for the email, but have they changed their employment practices, especially after losing managers and employees?
Yeah.
I mean, people just looked at this and went, "Nah, I'm out of here."
Yeah. I think Applebee's is probably losing big on this one, because this is one of those situations where this is a pretty bad, to have it said so simply.
Right.
Because it's it's what they've done, it's what they're doing, it's what they will continue to do.
Right.
It's what a lot of most companies are doing.
Right.
Like every time you hear this nobody wants to work, this is what they mean.
Right.
Like nobody wants to work anymore. No, nobody wants to work for you.
Yeah, especially since he
Because
owns 50 locations
yeah,
in the Midwest.
yeah. So no, I I don't think this is going to work out well for Applebee's.
Right.
I think they're probably going to end up having to go through a PR nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually have to try to like pull their shit together and actually, at least temporarily, act like a decent employer.
Well, and
Um,
not only that, but they're going to have to pay high.
yeah.
Like, if they
Well,
want to
that's
recover
what I
their crap,
mean.
they
Well,
want to repay high.
well, but here's the thing: is I don't even think they're like it's not even going to really be about paying high.
Mm-hmm.
The whole reality and what I mean by act like a decent employer is pay a livable wage
Mm-hmm.
and quit acting like dicks.
Right.
But I think we're also the fact I seriously think pre-pandemic this shit had come out.
Right.
I don't think anyone would have batted an eye and they would have been like, yeah. But on this side of the pandemic, yeah.
Right.
No, people aren't taking this crap anymore.
Right.
Like, we're done. I think it's a pretty much universal theory at this point is we're done.
Mm-hmm.
We're done with shitty wages and shitty jobs and even shittier benefits and fucking asshole managers who are literally here to fuck you over and over and over.
Right.
Like, we're done.
Right.
Like, this isn't a sustainable way for people to work and live.
Right. And he's celebrating, we all saw business hiring team members at $18 to $20 an hour. They will no longer be able to afford this. Trucks is the backbones of America, and fuel costs are rising, so it will change the cost of shipping. Those costs cannot pass on to customers in menu items. The only area they can cut is sustainable labor.
Mm-hmm.
No, the only way you can handle this is actually run your business right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the hard and true reality here is that yes, we're gonna probably see prices, creep up.
Right.
And there's already businesses that are taking advantage of this.
Mm-hmm.
That despite the fact it hasn't really harmed them at all,
Mm-hmm.
or they're not even participating in offering higher wages yet,
Right.
are going ahead
Mm-hmm.
and increasing prices and blaming it on increased labor costs that
Right.
don't exist.
Right.
Like, like this has been a larger part of the problem is trying to keep their labor low
Mm-hmm.
while they make their profitability high.
Right.
And it's like, how much profit do you need though?
Right.
Like, fundamentally, end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
how much profit do you need?
Right.
I mean, like, if you already have a profitable business,
Right.
where does it stop?
Right.
Like, this is a large part of what we've seen with companies is what's a reasonable, sustainable profit for your business,
Right.
and then what the hell are you doing?
Right.
Because now it's wealth for sport.
Right.
Like, you're gaining wealth
Right.
by intentionally seeing how much human suffering you can inflict.
Right.
To ensure that the people working for you are making as absolute little as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That you just don't care.
Right.
As long as, you're raking in millions and billions.
Right.
And it's like, no,
No.
I'm perfectly happy to work for someone and help them make money that is shared throughout a company space.
Right.
I don't like buying people yachts.
Exactly.
No one likes buying someone else a yacht.
Right.
Like, not how that works.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are starting to realize the value of their employment and what they are contributing towards the company and how much money is coming in because of them.
Right.
So, yeah. I say this ends pretty ugly for Applebee's, but I think it also sends a message to other companies that if you're going to act like a completely amoral corporation, maybe you should keep your fucking mouth shut.
Well, not only that, but when we're looking at business, there should be a 35% profit gain in all business. And that means after you've done everything, paid bonuses, paid everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you are running a business and you can't get 20% profit gain and take care of your employees, then you need to be out of business. You're not running it right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and moreover, no one owes you it. Like, here's the thing: no one owes you a business.
Right.
Like, and this is where I think a lot of people get confused who are in business. Is if the only way you can be profitable is by screwing over your workforce and literally going federal minimum wage on it. If that's the only way you can be profitable, you don't have a business, sweetheart.
Right.
You don't have a profitable business model.
Right. Not only
You're
that,
done.
making the business successful. Because here's the facts. When people are paid more, they work more. They perceive more value in their work. They also perceive and don't look for another job somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay? If you want a long-term sustainable workforce, pay damn good money. Pay it good, pay it often.
Yeah.
Make it easy to work for you.
Don't pay it late.
Well, and make it easy to work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep in mind, like, we're all humans. We've all had shitty coworkers, okay? Like, and here's another one just from the Joe Farrington playbook for business. Don't be afraid to fire people. Like, I don't mean like this nitpicky for cause bullshit. Like, fucking pay the unemployment, all right? Just pay it.
It'll be better value. And this is the playbook from my playbook. Is, if you're running a business, run it right.
Yeah.
We both run businesses. I run multiple businesses. He has his business. We run them right. We run them fair. We run when I ran restaurants, we ran them great. Did we pay minimum wage? Yeah, but our workers got set schedules. They were in all the time. It was the environment. Granted, we paid a little bit more than what the average people did. Guess what? My waitresses never missed. Yeah, they were making at that time $1.75 an hour. Minimum wage was $3 something an hour. But you know what? They walk off that floor with $200 to $300 in their pocket every day. They were making more than I was, and I was a manager in the restaurant. Why? Because they did their jobs. They enjoyed their jobs. They felt valued. But they knew if their schedule was Monday through Friday, day shift, they walked in that door at 6 o'clock Monday. They left out at 3:30. They had a set schedule. They had the weekends off. Other teams came in, they had different days off, but it was a set schedule. We had some of the best waitresses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's my other thing though, is pay the unemployment.
Yeah.
But more importantly, don't be afraid to fire people, because what you're often doing in trying to find the for cause is keeping some asshole there that is literally dragging you down.
Right, and destroying your team.
It's not worth it. I've worked for companies that would not fire someone unless they could find cause.
Right. And see, the other side of this is fire the employer. If you are not happy with your job, go find you a new one and fire them.
Yeah. Well, and that's probably a whole part of a whole other take, which is stop playing psychological games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would love to find the person
Mm-hmm.
who advised businesses
I'll be right back.
on how to psychologically manipulate employees to quote unquote get their best work. I would really like to find that person just so I could slap them. Because do you know what you have done to the modern workplace with the proliferation of this idea of psychologically terrorizing, because it's what it does, psychologically terrorizing employees by finding and exploiting their weaknesses, just like Applebee's was caught doing here. But also the things that employers do, like making sure that you don't get performance or proper performance reviews to try to incentivize you to work harder. Not because your performance isn't good, your performance can be stellar, but if they tell you that, their fear is that that's where you set your buoy and you're not ever going to do better than that. No, you're just causing people stress and anxiety they don't need or deserve.
Right. Well, and the other thing here, and this is the thing that I say, and I deal with this in business all the time. I will fire a supplier.
Yeah.
They start treating me like trash. They start giving me problems. Out the door they go. Guess what? Some of the suppliers I fired are now owned by the companies I stuck with.
Mm-hmm. And I have seen it, I do know in a previous company experience, we honestly were stuck with a vendor that got worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the 5 years I was there, continuously got worse.
Mm-hmm.
And they were our primary database vendor.
Right.
Like, this is the company that creates the software in which the entire business is centered around.
Mm-hmm.
And its replacements are few
Mm-hmm.
and only perhaps marginally better. And the cost to change
Mm-hmm.
was so damn high.
Mm-hmm.
But I kept sitting there looking at that system going, how
Right.
does this exist? Like,
Right.
I understand it's a niche industry.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there's a limited amount that of competition in this niche,
Right.
and that you can only spend so much before you have to see some massive improvements.
Right.
And that literally it may be that if we jump ship and go to another provider,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to really get better. We're just going to have new problems.
Right. And that happens. That's why you evaluate vendors. It's like I'm evaluating a social media vendor right now. If they suck, nope. Once my little free trial's over, I'm out of there. And we will go back to the one that we employ. But don't be afraid to switch vendors. Don't be afraid to switch employers, especially right now. Yeah. Oh, I'd be looking for higher pay all over the board.
Yeah.
And benefits matter.
And moreover, I wouldn't be as worried about just quitting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think this is one of the key moments in history in which, if you're sick and tired of this crappy employer you're with, mm-hmm. I can't promise you that you're going to go out and find a better new employer.
Mm-hmm.
I can have that hope for you. Mm-hmm. But I can just about guarantee you will quickly find another employer.
Right. And the other thing is to look at benefits. Right now, a major benefit for me is I have the freedom of movement.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did we see the Amazon union?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll go bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm starting to expect that we're going to see a lot of unionization in employment.
Right, which we saw this in the 20s before. 100 years ago is when the union movement started. We're going to see a lot more unionization, a lot more of academies and academy guilds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then comes the question: do we see the same drop off starting in the like 2070s? And once you get to like 2100, we have to start this back up again.
Well, it depends if they learn their lessons or not. I mean, the only reason to have a union or a guild is to provide benefits. Like SAG provides benefits. So if there was a psychic SAG, I'd join it in a heartbeat just for the retirement. Yes, I'd have to pay dues, but I'd get retirement, I'd get health insurance, I'd get vision insurance, I'd get all these other benefits.
Well, but there's also just the power of being able to collectively bargain with a corporation who its sole theory is trying to get the most out of you, the human resource, as is possible for the least amount of cost,
right,
using whatever tactic necessary.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's where we've all ended up. Like, this is where, union busting, this is where, the whole, like, death of unionization has taken us.
Right.
Like, if you back up those people in the 1920s,
right,
like, let's take miners, for example, were in absolutely shit, horrible conditions.
Right.
And abbreviating a fair bit, unionization comes in. The union collectively bargains for a shit ton of things that create a fair and equitable workplace. Especially considering it was a fucking coal mine that was making money hand over fist at the time. And what these workers predominantly left with at the end of their careers was the best possible retirement situation imaginable. That had a perpetuity concept to it. That didn't just, like, well, here's your 401k and, good luck. You'll be here till you're 75, and then, you'll probably drop dead before that, or if you live to 75, well, hope you can spend the money real quick because you'll be dead. Like, that's where we are now. Like, seriously, generationally, I've already been told I'm supposed to work till I'm 74. What? What? How in the hell? And this was all predicated on the idea. Even then, like, they were looking at us turning 18 and telling us you were going to work until you're 74. And we went, what? And built around the idea that we were going to have, like, we were going to be non-union employees. That we were not going to be able to save enough for retirement. Retirement costs were going to skyrocket. And legitimately, we would not be able to retire until we were 74. There was no way. Meanwhile, our life expectancies have not gone up so tremendously. That, quite frankly, we were told you're going to work till you're dead. We are going to work you for minimum wage, minimum hours, minimum benefits till you're dead. And then your children may inherit the balance of your 401k.
And to answer Ashley's question, no. I don't have enough film time to join SAG. And there is currently no union or guild that provides benefit like SAG does for psychics. Yeah. So I'm not part of SAG. If we do get to be monetizing and have enough viewing hours, we can technically join SAG.
Well, that's on like the YouTube side of it.
For
but
the psychic side.
I don't know. Maybe it's time for a psychics union, honey.
I think this is very much time for a psychics union.
Why don't you take that up?
Where do you want me to fit that in? Between nap and gym or after gym?
After gym.
Okay. Well, that means you'll have to cook dinner for the next 20 years.
Okay.
That's a lot of freaking macaroni and cheese.
Hey, the horrible things I will do for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Viva la resistance.
Right. But it's very interesting, some of the things. Granted, I have negotiated union contracts before. I have, been on the bargaining side of the table. I have gladly looked at a nursing administrator half drunk on vodka because the union used to give me vodka for negotiations because they knew the more I drank, the bitchier I got, and looked at her and says, I will pull every fucking nurse off your floor and you'll be changing diapers by 10:30.
So let's try something else.
So let's try to talk that one over again. I think we deserve a 25-cent raise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact that, and granted, it's 25 cents per hour.
Right.
And that doesn't sound like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it does add quickly. If you're talking about a business that has 10,000 hours of, employment a year,
Mm-hmm.
as in they have that many employees that, with the average being somewhere around 1,024 hours or 1,040, somewhere in there. That 25 cents can add quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But even still, it's what is your profitability? Look at what you're charging for this service. You cannot possibly sit here and tell me.
Yeah. That total raise cost the company $336.
Mm-hmm.
But it was improper, in financially stable for the company. Yeah, that's what she told me. I said, Angie Booker, I will take every nurse off this floor and you can change diapers at 10 o'clock.
I mean, again, 25 cents does add quickly.
Right. And, a lot of our viewers, especially our baristas, have not seen me in the boardroom. I'm a different person in the boardroom than I am on the show or I am on my readings. Corporate Aeson's not a nice man.
Well, and it's sort of like, and I have to go into this one, is, being running my own small business. I ended up sending an invoice this past week that I literally had to sit there and just do a double take on. Because part of me is like, that is an insane amount of money for what I did. Another part of me is going, but if I don't charge that, I'm going to lose my shirt. Like, literally.
Right.
I will be paying to do the job if I don't charge this.
Right.
And it's just one of those things. It's like this whole like $10 an hour concept is ridiculous. Like, if I drop my rates that low, the gas prices right now, that one on-site would have killed me. Like, that's it. I didn't make any money. And I'm just sitting there going, wow. Wow. But it's the reality of things cost money. Like this whole 2 for $22 combo, speaking of Applebee's, can we just all stop and say that might not be sustainable? Like, that's $11 a person to eat in a restaurant. I'm sorry, but we gave up on that personally a while back. Because, like, quite frankly, $11 a person, we can't really pull off at McDonald's. So, well, yeah, and if you do look at the combo, it is literally the cheapest thing ever. And yes, we did order that. That was our go-to for the longest time until finally we kind of had to look at each other and go, I can't do this anymore. I want other things.
Well, not only that, but, they took off things that were on there. They took off the reason I was going to Applebee's. They took off the reasons that the things you liked at Applebee's. And I'm like,
yeah, because it had a lot of popular items. And then it got down to the point of, like, it's fucking noodles Alfredo sauce and a couple of sprigs of broccoli.
Right.
Shit, I can do that at home for less.
Right. And that's also a thing is I can run and like I can look at a menu item and run how much that menu item costs the company, including a overhead and paying the waitress to bring me the food, and go, no, that's not worth it. And that's a hard thing that's hard to go out to a restaurant with me and me sitting there debating items. It's like, nope, not worth it, not worth it, not worth it, not worth it, not worth it. No. Okay, that actually sounds tasty.
Well, it sounds tasty and is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously.
Seriously. The best restaurant I've seen that's actually worth it and worth going out to eat is Ruby Tuesdays.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, yeah, half the entrees add at least $2 on that combo. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, everything that you want is at least another $2.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the things you would actually want aren't even in that.
Right.
And your appetizers are ridiculous.
Right.
Like, and they have been. And I'm sorry, I don't care that I have this opinion, without Applebee's being caught with its pants down. Like, that's an added bonus in this moment.
Right.
But your 2 for $22 is some bullshit.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't work.
Right.
And more importantly, like, it's not even now.
Right.
Like, it's garbage. It's, if I just want to be seen in a restaurant while being poor,
right,
that's how you get seen in a restaurant while being poor.
Mm-hmm.
But even at that, it's like, no.
Right. Well, and again, that's why I like Ruby Tuesdays. They have a lovely salad bar.
Mm-hmm.
Their steaks I've never had to send back.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm going to a restaurant like that, I'm very basic. I like a steak. I like a potato. Give me a good salad. Bring me some fluffy bread and a drink that's worth it.
Yes. That isn't an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Like, I am still lost on how, like, basic sodas got this damn expensive.
Well, especially when they're costing the company $2.33. No, they cost the company 33 cents a glass.
Yeah. What? Like, I am just lost on how we allowed drinks to suddenly be like $4, $5, $6.
Right.
And I'm like, that's not.
Let me double check it.
Like, it's syrup and water. We all know this. We're well aware. I can get there being some labor costs associated with like lemonade and and you're gonna have a few of those, and so or lemonade, sweet tea. Like if you're in-house making any of your drinks,
right?
I get that.
Right.
I don't even have a problem paying like $6 or paying like $2 a glass. On like my freckled lemonade or my strawberry lemonade, whatever it's called at a particular restaurant.
Right.
I dearly love it. It's worth it to me. I'm going to have 4 of them. Yes, I just spent $8 on drinks.
And?
It's cheaper than, if I were an alcoholic.
That was my and is because I know what it costs for Aeson to go to a bar. Aeson at a bar night, you can count for $150 in drinks and tips.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Well,
you might as well have that available.
At least then.
No, now.
Okay.
Yeah, now I'm gonna spend. Strawberry daiquiris are $9.50. Okay. Tipping the girls that are dancing, and I'm nice queens. Tipping the gentlemen that are dancing. Yeah, you're gonna count $60 at least.
Okay.
Flat out of the budget.
Yeah.
Because I ain't going to a show not tipping somebody. That's ridiculous.
Okay, so what's the magical answer from Google on beverage cost? Like, as in, we're talking carbonated beverage costs.
Carbonated beverages. Let me double check. Soda syrup box. All right. So if they're ordering it retail, they're paying $89 for a 5-gallon box of syrup. That'll make almost 550 drinks. The carbonation delivery is $200, and then the water, we'll give it another $50.
All right. So assuming, all right, let's run through that again. So it's 89 for the box.
Mm-hmm.
Plus how much for the carbonation?
We will give it 200 delivery.
Okay. And then another 50 for the water.
Another 50 for the water.
Okay. And all of that,
Mm-hmm.
that $339
Divide by 500.
divide by 500.
Right.
So pure cost is 67.8 cents.
Okay. Now you add another 30 cents for labor.
And you're sitting at still under $1.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I mean, I kind of like, I mean, I used to think of it as, yeah, it's a highly profitable thing. And that was when it was like $1.50.
right.
$2.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to be cheap on it, but damn. Like, we know it's not going in labor.
Right.
Like, your tipped wait staff making minimum tipped wait staff wage is not seeing anything out of this.
Yep. And drinks. Come on, just give me the drink. I don't want the. Yeah, they're charging $3 for Cokes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that profit alone
Mm-hmm.
is on their Cokes.
Yeah. Well, and as again, the amount you would have to consume, because they're loading it with ice.
Right.
Like, that's the oldest, restaurant trick in the book, is load that fucking glass with ice.
Right. Well, I was counting for the ice here.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, from the point in which you were counting your 500.
Yeah.
I'm curious how much of your memory of that and how much ice was actually in the glass.
3/4 of a cup of ice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Yeah, I ain't
You
lost
weren't
my
talking
skill.
about-
So, take it away from the $3, please.
Oh, so the 97.8 cents from $3?
Yep.
Okay. Is $2.02.
Yep, and profit.
Yeah. Well, now that's if they're charging per glass.
Right.
Which a fair number of restaurants have started doing.
Most restaurants start doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, especially since they've now switched from using reusable containers to paper container, which adds another 3 cents to your drink.
Ooh.
Yeah. So McDonald's, literally, when they make their sweet tea and you're buying any drink for $1, they're still making a 20-cent profit.
Yeah. At least.
At least.
Well, because mostly that special for the $1 drinks is usually on sweet tea.
Right. So,
which I think we all know is one of the cheapest things you can make at home.
Well, not only that, but their sweet teas are 20 cents is what they're losing in cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're making 80 cents profit. And that's with the cup and the straw and all that included. But no, when you look at menu items, sit there and cost. Okay, how much does this cost for me to make at home? And if you can't clear a 35% profit on that cost, then that's not a good item to order.
Yeah. Well, and that's if you just want to order by the numbers. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I prefer to go to restaurants and order the food that I like.
Right.
And maybe it is something I can make at home, and it's just not worth the labor.
Right.
But that means I've decided that what your restaurant sells is either A, better than what I can do at home, or the equivalent thereof.
Right.
And that I much prefer my time and energy to, to keep that and pay money for someone else to do that.
Right, and that's perfectly fine. But I'm saying, like, if you sit down and you go to order a meal, and you're looking at the meal, and it's like 2 for $22, and it's a 5-ounce steak and a potato and some chips with a quarter cup of spinach cheese dip. That's not $22 worth of value. Go and look at your menu items, find you something else, or order the full 12-ounce steak.
Well, especially with the number of restaurants that are now basically heat and serve.
Right.
Like, a lot of these restaurants aren't even bothering to actually cook.
Right.
Like, the most cooked thing in what you described would be the steak.
Right.
Everything else was a throw together.
Yeah.
Like, you microwave and I literally mean microwave, everything else.
Right.
Like, it's just... it scrambles my mind. It's like, I know when I order like a fettuccine Alfredo, I know I have just bought the cheapest thing on their menu.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I love it. I enjoy that.
Right.
I don't even really have a problem up to about $9 for that.
Right.
Like, I can be okay with that.
Right.
Like, the cost of ingredients plus my labor.
Right.
Okay, I can be okay with that. But knowing that you're not doing anything that much different than if I go to the store, buy a Mama Michelina's, and throw it in the microwave.
Right.
That kind of, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, well, shit. Like, I gotta be pretty damn tired.
Right.
To not feel like going to the grocery store, picking up a Mama Michelina's,
right.
And throwing it in my microwave.
Right.
Like, oh God. I cried one time at Applebee's over microwave cheese sticks.
Yeah. I don't understand anyone that does a microwave cheese stick when they got a deep fryer right there. Drop and go. It's bad if I can get better food at cheese.
Seriously.
And I would have sent them back, Ashley. I would have sent them back and said no.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, at that point, it was like, fuck, I could pull that stunt at home.
Exactly.
You know, like, I was upset already and it was a long day. I hear you. I really do. I've had that day. In terms of, and I think we've talked about it on the show, the day I dropped my cell phone in 33 ounces of sweet tea. And I completely lost it.
Right.
In the middle of a restaurant. And I don't mean angrily. I was not angry. I just, like, had a meltdown.
Right.
Like, I was just done.
Right.
Oh, I just wanted some good cheese sticks for dinner. I hear it. I'm there. Oh, we are so sorry your cheese sticks were ruined. That was, and I get it. Like, there's some things that it's like, I've had a horrible day. Like, you really have to look at why people eat out. Like, some of it's celebratory, some of it's I'm too lazy to cook. But there's also this is a treat for something.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I am a food motivated human being, and sometimes, maybe it's been a really good day.
Right.
And I am food rewarding, which I know is technically bad, and there's a lot of people that really hate that idea. And then there are other days in which I'm just trying to give myself, the will to keep moving.
Right.
And I hate to say that, like, an Applebee's cheese stick was my, will to live. But I could quickly see it becoming my 13th reason.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I've had those days where it could have become my 13th reason.
Right.
Like, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Totally agree. All right. So, apparently, it looks like Russian oil tankers have a problem with their transponders.
Oh, they don't have a problem with their transponders.
Go into this one, darling.
Oh, yeah. Ashley says it was the tip of her iceberg. Yeah, I'm there. I get you, girl. Russian oil tankers are vanishing off the map. Russia's invasion of Ukraine made the country a pariah in the global energy market. Since the war started, a de facto embargo on Russian oil has emerged, with oil companies, trading houses, shippers, and banks backing away all at the same time. Now, however, there are signs that Russian energy is drawing interest from potential buyers, at least in the shadows. As the war in Ukraine drags on, Russian tankers carrying crude oil and petroleum products are increasingly disappearing from tracking systems.
Mm-hmm.
So-called dark activity, where ships' transponders are turned off for hours at a time, has in the past been viewed by U.S. officials as a deceptive shipping practice that is often used to evade sanctions. Dark activity among Russian-affiliated crude oil tankers is up by 600% compared with before the war began, predictive intelligence company Windward told CNN. Quote, we're seeing a spike in Russian tankers turning off transmissions deliberately to circumvent sanctions, Windward CEO Amy Daniel said in an interview. The Russian fleet is starting to hide its whereabouts and its exports.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So basically what they're doing is there are companies willing to, with Russia being now a pariah, they can't command quite the price they used to on their oil. And they're developing a little bit of a backlog of it. So what is happening is companies are taking advantage of this despite embargo, despite, everything else, and even the world opinion, if it were ever known, that say, throwing out a big name just because it can, not because I'm accusing them of anything, but BP Oil buys Russian oil, would be a horrible headline.
Right.
Despite that, the cost that they can now get it for, because Russia is in the situation that it's in, it's considered an offer you can't refuse. Right. In terms of businesses. And this is the problem with business. You're looking at that bottom line without any moral, ethical involvement. So despite the fact that buying this oil would be a really bad public relations nightmare, the fact that you can get it for pennies suddenly makes it too enticing to pass up for these companies who are willing to risk their reputation.
Right. Now, it's interesting the U.S. Treasury is already moving on this and saying they're going to track them by other means. And if a company is found to be carrying their oil, you might get just stuck with more than just the oil you bought.
Yeah. Well, because there's an additional issue here, which is you're effectively going to end up having to cook your books.
Yeah.
When you go to use it.
Right.
And what these companies would be doing is they're going to be taking this oil in for pennies while claiming the reason that their prices, like say at the pump, are high is because of the cost of oil. Well, here's a funny little equation that you have to pay attention to. If the non-embargoed market produces, say, 500 million barrels, and the industry sells to consumers 750 million barrels, you have a problem to the tune of 250 million barrels that don't exist. that you have sold.
Right.
So obviously, at least someone in this market is buying oil that doesn't exist.
Right.
So, yeah. Hi, problems with when you cook your books.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to end up creating a very obvious problem, especially if you're buying a crap ton of it,
Mm-hmm.
in which you bought more of something than is actually available.
Right. Now, what's interesting is it's looking like China and possibly India, two of the world's largest oil consumers and fast-growing economies, are stealthily buying Russian energy. Trend says trading houses may be buying Russian oil and putting the barrels in storage, including floating storage, on tankers that remain at sea. Beyond dock activity, Wayward found that some vessels and companies are still dealing with Russian affiliate tankers and engaging in ship-to-ship transfers. In 2020, Treasury warned the ship-to-ship transfers, especially at night or in areas of high risk for sanction evasion, are frequently used to evade sanctions concerning the original oils. You know, we've got some lovely warships.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You know, if you're not being a transponder, you are a pirate.
That is the argument.
So therefore, buy ship rights.
Technically, you cannot import Russian oil right now. That's
No.
the whole.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by ship rights and by international law, pirate ship can be sunk. We have warships just sitting around. Put them to work. Let's make those tax sellers work. Let's sink some oil.
Well, but then we have another problem, which is we've seen the devastating effects of an oil spill, which inevitably this would cause. Like in the process of sinking the ship.
Depending where you hit the ship.
Well, depending upon where you hit the ship, but, you know, typically you want to go for that nice soft underbelly.
Well,
it's like killing anything else. If you want to take down a ship, you go for the big soft underbelly.
No. You hit that ship right there at the captain's room. Captain rooms. You have a floating barge of oil.
Oh, well, either that or go for the engine.
Yeah.
Like, go for the engine. Either that or a nice electromagnetic pulse.
We have them. They've been equipped on our ships for hundreds of years, for at least the last 50 years.
I mean, just leave it dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not harmed physically, but dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a moment, I'm sure, as, you know, captain and crew of, how long can you survive here? Because now you are an island with no electricity. How long can you survive? Especially since you're now an island that has no trade because you're carrying Russian oil.
Well, not only that, but I wonder how fast. How many it would take before this suddenly stops? I say 4.
I don't even know you'd have to go that high. I think it's one of those things, if you can't find a crew to staff a vessel, you can't move oil.
Well, you know, the United States Congress did pass marine, what is it? Anyway, it's licensed to pirate any Russian-controlled ship. As long as you're flying the U.S. flag, you can pirate a Russian ship.
And I believe other countries have as well. Like France seems all down on it.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, you know, ahoy!
Well, not only are they ahoy, but they're like, ha! Come along, let's go. We are old pirates. We taught them how to do this in the 1600s. Let's rock this, Roy.
Basically.
You know, we have a lot of Somalians that are already pirating. Oh, Somalia, go up north, hit that Black Sea, collect as many as you can. Remember, take your prisoners, drop them off in the barren Iceland. You have a brand new ship.
Though, you know what I've found interesting is with the number of Russian coal companies in West Virginia,
Uh-huh.
we haven't heard much.
Well, we have, but we've heard it out of a different venue.
Oh.
And this was one of my best retweets one of my best tweets this week. If you guys aren't following Aeson K on Twitter, you're missing out on the show. Because, I keep handing it to a few people.
Fair enough. Oh. Yeah,
but of course, we saw it from Senator Capito and her stance on, that we need to be energy independent right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we are seeing it from the stupid side of like, well, West Virginia will sell more coal. And it's like, selling more coal,
right?
Bless your heart, is not the answer. And
right.
It doesn't help West Virginia.
Right.
How many ways? Like, Justice will be well helped. By the way, he sold and bought back his coal mines from a Russian company.
Right.
But like, just to bring that up,
right.
The only person helped that actually lives in West Virginia from selling more coal from West Virginia is, I think at this point, Jim Justice.
Right.
That's it. One human.
Right.
Like, everyone else has been basically pushed out of the industry by machinery. There's a very few number of people still left in coal.
Right.
And they're pretty much required to be there if it produces even enough to fill a damn charcoal bag.
Right.
Like, anything from that point on, it's all the same.
Right.
It does nothing extra for them.
Right. So anyway, my comment back to that was, do you realize you sound like someone who's mad about the horse and buggy not being used anymore? It's time for West Virginia to move forward and strike while the iron is hot. Retain the miners to run solar and wind plants, make batteries, and make West Virginia energy capital it can be. Yes, my English is bad. Hello, my English is bad for one reason. I only have so many characters to educate the dumb bitch.
Fair enough. But no, I mean, I don't know. West Virginia is killing me with this whole coal is the answer. It's like, no, coal was the answer. It was. It was many years ago. And through our ginormous, because it was a long time.
Right.
Coal did do many wonderful things for West Virginia, or more importantly, it should have. It should have taught us the value of a union. It should have taught us about exploitation by employers. It should be the shining model example of how, given a current technological status of a world,
right,
you ensure that companies looking to make obscene profits do so in a way that still protects your working, constituents in a state.
Right.
Like, that should be what we get from coal. That should be the lesson. That should be the thing that we focus on. Not treating, Father Coal as, Santa Claus that's going to show back up and save West Virginia. It's not a fucking Lifetime movie.
Right.
Like, get over it.
Right.
Coal died. It's a horrible industry. We know that now. We've moved on from that. Or more importantly, we are moving on from that.
Right.
We need to hurry the fuck up and get there before we have oceanfront property in West Virginia. Can we all get there?
Right. I'm looking up something that's not a news story. I just kind of wonder because he just released a yeah, how many barrels do we have in the U.S.? All right, about 550 million barrels is in the reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's releasing a million a month of oil,
Mm-hmm. It's 550 months
worth of oil. Now, how many barrels of oil does the U.S. go through?
Yeah, probably more than 1 million.
Right.
Granted, the whole point of strategic reserves is this.
Yeah.
Like,
why we created this in 1979.
like,
Okay. So we go through, on average, according to 2020 numbers, 20.54 billions of oil daily.
yeah, so that 550, or, okay, run that again. That was how many per day?
We go through 20.54
20.54 barrels?
million barrels.
Million barrels. Yeah, so that 550 is not going to last long.
Well, it may last a little longer than you think because we also got to look at what we produce.
Okay.
Okay. So divide that by 20.54 equals. Actually, the reserve alone would last us 26.7 days.
Yes.
And and we're roughly producing
14.84 million barrels a day.
Yeah.
So if we're going through 20, all right, so the net difference
Right.
Between 2054 and 1484.
Right.
All right, so let's clear.
Now, Ashley, we are boycotting Russian alcohol because it can't be sold in America currently.
So,
Y'all guys remember Cuban cigars? Yeah, it's now Russian vodka.
So 550 divided by 6.3. That'd get us 3 months almost, 87 days.
Right.
If we release the net difference.
Right.
But that's not even necessarily, that's what we're currently producing.
Right.
Versus what our capacity may be.
Right. Because remember, we regulate our capacity instead of going full power. Because I personally believe if we went full power, we could collapse the global oil market. Especially if we get into and start drilling in the oil markets in Alaska and take full advantage of the ones on the coast.
Yeah. Well, and here's my bigger thought, though.
Mm-hmm.
Is I would be willing to like, here's my thought.
Right.
Is go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Max out our production capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not have to touch that reserve or touch it sparingly.
Right.
And literally to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what keeps us on the road and moving today.
Right.
And to that is we need to immediately start slating for anything that is oil powered,
mm-hmm.
gasoline powered,
mm-hmm.
diesel powered,
mm-hmm.
to be moving out of that.
Right.
Like, do the math. How much oil do we have available?
Mm-hmm.
How much do we have in reserve? How long can we go? Set your timeline, and by God,
right,
we are going to incentivize the fuck out of, and we are going to remove our oil dependence.
Well, wouldn't it be interesting, because we have the money to do it, if, one, they don't have cash for clunkers, but except the clunker is an electric power car. You pay the government your loan payment. Your loan payment is $150 a month.
I'm sorry, what? Your cash to clunker, because that was supposed to be the idea, was cash for clunkers was supposed to replace gasoline powered vehicles with electric vehicles, and was supposed to be an incentive program to, one, get those cars off the road, and two, to sell more electric vehicles. And it was, but not in a good way.
No, what it was, and it wasn't electric powered vehicles, it was more fuel efficient vehicles.
Well, yeah.
Okay. And it was made to get the 80s and the 90s models off the road for the 2000 models. And that's why we see this big bridge of 2008s all over the place for good money right now. But think about it. If we could right now walk into a dealership, sign the government paperwork, the automatic draft from our account, and finance us electric cars for $150 a month, and all we got to do is hand in our 2 titles. That's our down payment. Government's going to finance it. We'll go 6% interest just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
How fast do you think gas prices would fall?
I would think very fast. The biggest problem is going to be meeting consumer demand. Which, again, if you go ahead and incentive, and when I say incentivize the fuck out of it, you incentivize the fuck with hard coded demands for both production and for meeting those targets. Like GM, if you can't cut it in 6 months, you're out of the program.
Right. Well,
that's it.
Right. Since we do have an armed conflict currently that's causing this problem, he can use the power of war just like Trump did and push their production limits.
Well, and change their production as well.
Right.
So, yeah, if we went that route and force it, because fundamentally what we've been sitting at is we have had emissions targets for decades now.
Right.
And we have companies that are literally they were soft targets anyway. They're really soft targets. It was a drop in a bucket compared to the problem. And even then, the companies are still struggling, so to speak, to meet those. Oh God, we just can't make a more efficient vehicle. No, you're selling the same shit with a different wrapping, for decades, making micro changes to it, while no, sorry, it's time to pay up.
Right.
Figure out how to make this work.
Right.
Tell me why it is that I had a vehicle from 1990 that got 40 miles to the gallon, and that didn't become the norm by 2010. That every vehicle on the planet that was currently being produced. Tell me how it worked out that in 1990 you could produce a vehicle that got 40 miles to the gallon, and then here we are by 2010 and later. That's not my normal. That should be COD, it's such a energy hog, it's only gets 40 miles to the gallon. Tell me where the technology went. Tell me how this didn't get better. I'm sorry, it's because they're too quiet and it sounds dainty and Like, it's all the shit we hear about electric vehicles is that, they're not powerful enough. They don't make enough noise. People don't want to buy them, blah, 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 blah. We only, sell what we can, or we only produce what we can sell. Okay, but here's the thing. You quit producing automatics, or, manual transmissions without really caring anymore if anyone wanted one or not.
Right.
And you haven't, like, the backlash on that, yeah, there's a lot of diehard manual drivers who are like, fuck, I can't find a vehicle. But what are you going to do? Everyone made the decision at once.
All right.
Good luck finding a manual drive vehicle.
All right.
It's hard. You have to give up a lot because it's usually a very base model. They don't want to sell you a manual drive transmission.
Right.
Like, so they make it the worst car on the lot. The worst car on the lot. You have power, nothing. You have accessory, nothing.
Right.
Plastic wheels if they can do it.
Right.
It is a bullshit vehicle. They know no one's going to buy it.
All right.
Okay, then why can't you do the same thing with a gasoline-powered engine that it's not available? Or it's available on the shittiest vehicle on the lot, if that's what you want.
Right.
Like, get over it.
Very interesting. I didn't know this. We might not want to take out that dryer plug.
Yes. It's a lovely way to... it's effectively how you charge an electric car. Okay, but if it's going to cost you $20 a day to charge your car at home because electricity costs have gone through the roof, is that any better?
Yes. And here's why it's better. Because it's not going to cost you $20 a day to charge your car. Because as we're ramping up the electric car, we'll call it the war on Russia buyout. Then we're also going to take those funds that were made to pay for solar on homes, and we're going to put them to work. Government go through like they did in Germany, and every home that will agree to it, put solar on the roof.
And current energy cost for charging at 13 cents per kilowatt, which if you're outside of Texas is about what you're paying. So the current recharge cost is about $9 a day.
Right.
So in current gas pricing, you're talking about 2 and a little change gallons.
Yep.
To cover 100 miles.
Right. Right.
And if you fully deplete, well, that's on a 200-mile range on an electric vehicle that's fully depleted.
Right.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. And definitely on solar, like, make it as cheap as possible. Again, all this is bringing this together.
Right.
And literally making it be the dumb choice to keep using oil.
Right.
Like, make it as, like, dumb.
Right.
Dumb, 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 dumb.
Right.
Why would you want oil?
Well, not like that.
And I mean, if you're a multimillionaire, none of this bothers you anyway. So pay, $200 a gallon for gas and drive your fucking Hummer.
Right.
Or whatever its new version is.
And this is the important part of it, is how many people, people, low-income people that work everyday jobs can't afford a new car. Can't afford a car that's within new fuel ranges. But if everybody that goes in and applies gets approved for We'll call it the Biden car program, just to piss off the Republicans.
Yeah. And make it a non-dischargeable debt.
Yeah.
Like, the car has to spontaneously explode.
Right.
In order to get the debt discharged.
Exactly.
Like, it can't,
Right.
Like, literally, it will get fixed.
Right.
Unless it,
Right.
So otherwise.
Right.
And again, if you're a diehard, I love my gas-powered engine, that's fine. You're going to pay a premium for it.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived this long in my life without a yacht.
Right. But what I'm saying is, do you realize how quickly you're getting people to work?
Mm-hmm.
How quick the energy bills, i.e. the power bills, go down because production goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdest damn thing in the world. But the more everybody's using electricity, now more everyone's using solar energy, the quicker companies suddenly go, holy fuck, we're going to have to charge less.
Yeah, fundamentally. Not to mention, like, all of the, like, we have an infrastructure problem in the U.S.
Uh-huh.
And we know this. Like, we know, as we're saying this, we have an energy grid that currently would not support every single home in America charging an electric vehicle. We get this. We know this. We're well aware.
Right.
How fucking fast does the electric company have to take their god-awful profits and start fixing this shit before the whole thing goes down in a giant fire?
Exactly.
So Shannon's still trying to talk her husband into putting solar Tesla tiles on the new house. And yes, Ashley points out your mannerisms right now are hilarious.
Of course they are. Of course they are. Thank you, Trazodone. However, when we go to put all this into place, if the government would do this, we would have probably the largest investment into the single U.S. citizen possible. We suddenly have a lot less energy cost, a lot more independent growing, a lot more independence going on.
Ashley's glad she's in the break room.
And you would be very surprised how quickly this economy would turn around. Oh, Elon Musk would do it in a heartbeat if he got left alone by the government. That's his whole problem. Leave me the hell alone and I'll do it for you. Don't bother me. I will have a team on the ground in 30 minutes. We could do this deployment by state within the 2 days. If we let Elon Musk and what's the other one?
You got to give me more.
The father of Microsoft.
Bill Gates.
You put them together with Warren Buffett. And you tell them, this is the project. You're going to go down in history of this. You're making 6% return on this investment. That's why we put Buffett in there. Okay? We put them in there. Buffett will do it cheap. Musk got the technology going on. And if y'all haven't seen, Microsoft can deploy updates very well and shut down everything, including the live stream. That would be a wild time very quickly.
Yeah. And you know the weird part about the electric car?
Yeah.
This should have been what we had all along.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that kills me, is if you're sitting here and you want to call yourself an automotive purist, the electric car should have been the car in every driveway. That's what kills me sometimes, because Porsche developed an electric car called the P1 in 1898. It was, like, quote, like from this article I've got up right now, even Henry Ford, who was friends with Edison, partnered with Edison to explore options for a low-cost electric car in 1914. Yet it was Henry Ford's mass-produced Model T that dealt a blow to the electric car. Introduced in 1908, the Model T made gasoline-powered cars widely available and affordable. By 1912, the gasoline car cost only $650, while an electric roadster sold for $1,750. That same year, Charles Kettering introduced the electric starter, eliminating the need for the hand crank and giving rise to more gasoline-powered vehicle sales. Literally, in a weird twist of fate, an electric starter was what killed the electric car. In terms of it becoming what was in everyone's driveway already.
Mm-hmm.
Because it should have been the right vehicle.
So we have a question tonight. I'm going to use Thoth.
Ooh.
Yeah, we all know about Thoth.
All right.
You read the question, I'll do the cards.
All right, so it's a finance question. Ashley 82696. I think some moves have been made in a forward direction with my rental complex. Are they really turning in my favor?
Ooh, okay. This is actually pretty good. Pretty good. First up out of the gate, we've got the Ten of Wands. You stressing and worrying too damn much. Then we have the Three of Discs here, showing you work is being done. We also have the Tower here saying things look like they're falling apart. Sometimes they need to. And then, of course, we have Fortune, the Wheel of Fortune, where it stops, nobody ever knows. However, the final outcome is the Seven of Discs. With this, you've got to watch your self-confidence. You've got to have faith in it, because, yes, it will change. It will be the Five of Swords here. However, you've got to read those papers correctly. Make sure you're giving them every little bit of documentation. And always remember, copy twice, keep one. Bitch can't keep up with her paperwork. That's half your problem right now. I mean, she didn't even know who you were.
Ooh, that sucks.
Yep. All right, let's talk about this rogue cop, because I'm tired of seeing this story in our feed. I want to know what the fuck he done.
Oh, yes. So, rogue Georgia cop caught in viral X-rated TikToks. A Georgia cop probably thought no one was watching when he took his squad car to a scrubby area off a quiet road in a small Georgia town, walked around the back, and started having sex with someone while in uniform. But someone high up in a nearby telecommunications tower started filming and uploaded the videos to TikTok last week, where they quickly racked up more than 15 million views. Police caught on cam. One video was captioned along with hashtags of tower climbers and dirty deeds. Now the officer, identified by local news channel WRDW as Millen Police Officer Larry Benjamin Thompson, has quit, and a record of past misconduct has come to light. Satellite maps from White Oak Road in Millen, a town of about 3,500 people, about an hour south of Augusta, show the same tower, nearby cemetery, and patches of dirt and bushes, that can be seen in the TikTok videos. The map also shows a school across the street. Millen Police Chief Dwayne Harrington told WRDW he was planning to meet with Thompson on Monday about a video, but Thompson quit beforehand. Georgia state records show Thompson had worked on and off for the department since 2015. According to Millen City Council meeting minutes, Thompson was involved in a car crash while at work in November 2019. WRDW reported that he killed a 76-year-old driver, identified in a local obituary as Lewis Jenkins, when he T-boned Jenkins' car while racing to a call at 86 miles per hour. The network also obtained investigation documents showing that while working for the Millen Fire Department in 2017, Thompson accidentally discharged his gun, shooting a colleague in the arm.
When did firemen carry guns?
He claimed the gun malfunctioned while he was cleaning it, but an internal probe found the weapon had no malfunction. This is not an excuse to be accepted, only a reflection after the fact, the Criminal Investigative Division wrote in its report. Though it is referred to as an accidental discharge, essentially it is a negligent discharge. Then in 2020, a woman who'd been in a relationship with Thompson contacted Millen police to accuse him of harassing her. Thompson admitted to running her tags to find her new address, claiming he was trying to return some old items to her, according to a case summary. He was suspended for 2 days. The Millen Police Department did not immediately respond to the Daily Beast request for comment Tuesday. So, yeah, that was the Daily Beast with rogue Georgia cop caught in viral X-rated TikToks. I don't know where to stop that one. That's like you got to have the whole fucking picture. Sorry, I read the whole article, so I'm like, we got to source it.
Right.
Properly.
Right.
But there's nowhere to stop in that article. It just gets worse.
It does. It continues to get worse.
Damn. As a very busy officer is what I'm getting down to. When
is he policing?
When is he policing? When is he firefighting? When is he? Because, and granted, a town of 3,500 probably does not have a huge amount of crime to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm glad he found a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping the sex was consensual.
Looking at it, it looks like it's 2 officers. Look at the pictures. Go to the Daily Beast and look at the pictures.
Well, I'm looking at the pictures. One's an SUV. One looks like a sports car.
One is an SUV. One is a police car. Obviously, both of them are police cars.
Are they? I'm not. Oh. Never mind. That's not a sports car. Okay, that is definitely a police car. Okay. Alrighty. Yeah, sorry. I like the angle of the car. It looked like it was a little more expensive, a little nicer than would have thought. Oh, but yeah.
Oh, come on. We can just show this.
Oh, God. Are we bringing up the video?
No, I'm not bringing up the video. I'm bringing up the view.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't think we can afford to bring up the video.
No.
I'm surprised TikTok.
Y'all tell us. What do you think? What do you think? Looks like 2 police cars to me.
I mean... I don't know. No. The world is...
why are our police cars not GPS located with cameras in them at all times?
Well, theoretically, I thought they were.
Apparently his isn't.
I mean... I really would have thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. Isn't it weird? And he's doing this beside a school.
Right.
Here's the reality. 2 private citizens get caught in this situation, and I believe that is lewd conduct in the vicinity of children. Yeah.
Yep.
Or some version of those words. Isn't that a felony.
Right.
Like, that's not just your normal, like, you know, put it away and move along. You know, if you are two private citizens doing this, I think you end up getting arrested.
Right.
Like, generally speaking. Well, fair enough, because criminals can use the readers to see where the GPS are registering and avoid the cops. Fair enough, fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, it's a fair point. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just sitting here having a moment of like, I think I'd almost rather we have criminals avoiding the cops than have cops becoming criminals.
It is a felony and it's lewd and lascivious conduct.
Yeah. I mean, granted, a good lawyer is going to plead that down, but
to a misdemeanor.
But still, you're gonna get like splashed all over the paper on that one if caught by an officer doing it.
And you may actually make it to this show.
Dude, what?
If it shows up in my newsfeed long enough, it may make it to the show.
Well, you know, depending upon how crazy the situation is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But still. Like, just to point out that, like, this is an officer doing something that, like, here's the thing. My problem isn't with public sex.
Right.
Like, whatever. But near a school, like, it's right across the street.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, and granted, we have this problem in law enforcement, in firefighting, in, you know, medicine even, like through paramedics and ER, of adrenaline junkies, that fundamentally, like, they have an adrenaline addiction. They you know, need the chaos because they love that feeling you get when your heart is pounding and you don't know if you're going to live or die. I would think that when you're, you know, boning someone behind an SUV across the street from a school in not that, at least by picture, doesn't look very concealed location, I don't think you can describe yourself as anything but an adrenaline junkie.
Right.
Like, no, that should be your, like, that's your burnout moment.
Right.
Like, you've hit the limit. You've hit the limit. Like, you're, and I would say for, like, that is something I think we also need to be looking heavily at in various, you know, the various professions.
Right.
Firefighters, paramedics, etc. Like, these are the telltale signs you need to see beforehand.
Right.
And, like, you need to get someone out of that employment.
Right.
Because fundamentally, if you're, you know, looking for adrenaline producing situations to get your high, because effectively it's like a drug addiction.
Right.
It's not sex addiction. It's like all the things that go with it. You're in uniform, at work, in a barely concealed location, across the street from a school.
Right.
Like, this is an officer you should be worried about. Like, this is probably the best thing that could happen, is that he gets caught in the situation. As long as no one else gives him a job in law enforcement or the fire department or etc., you have potentially prevented a lot, not saying it hasn't already happened, but prevented a long career of police brutality before it got to a point in which it made national news because it was so fucking ridiculous.
Well, I have a larger question for this municipality. How do you have an officer still driving in your city on your payroll when he killed somebody in an accident that could have been prevented?
I think the argument for that accident was it was just an unfortunate accident that he was responding. And again, there is a line there that one has to figure out.
Yeah.
What was the severity of the call?
Uh-huh.
Did the driver, fail to yield? Can you argue that? Was it reasonable for the officer to be responding at that speed?
Mm-hmm.
Like, was it the hot and ready sights on,
Right.
hot and ready lights on at the local donut shop, or was he responding to a call that had that kind of urgency?
Right.
That doing 86 miles per hour,
right,
through that intersection without yielding to other drivers,
right,
was warranted and reasonable.
Right.
And that may have been what they found. They may have erred on the side of caution to firing at the time what one might have thought was a perfectly good officer,
Mm-hmm.
who maybe
Right.
overreacted slightly.
Right.
Versus and I'm not saying that was the situation. I'm saying that was like the worst case maybe on that one.
Right.
Is that overeager officer responds with a little too much enthusiasm to a call, versus, the hot and ready light sign was on and he was speeding across town for no good reason.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you can clear that hurdle, then okay, at worst, he was a little overeager and probably could have reduced his speed and, avoided the accident.
Right.
Or at best, no, it was a call that necessitated that kind of response. And, it was a horribly unfortunate accident.
Right.
That, if you have a bomb threat at the school he, boned someone in front of. If you had a bomb threat,
Mm-hmm.
and he is speeding across town,
right,
in response to it at 86 miles per hour, and this poor unfortunate 70-some-year-old pulls out in front of him, and he T-bones him because the rate of speed he's going, it's literally he pulled out in front of him.
Right.
He didn't have time to stop. Then in that situation, it's a horribly unfortunate accident, but there was a bomb threat at the school.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that kind of scenario. Right. I could see them going, okay, this,
Mm-hmm.
It's a horrible accident. We hate that it happened. The reason he was speeding was reasonable.
Right.
So that's how you end up with an officer still on the road after using a city, county, state, whatever vehicle.
Right.
And causing a death.
Right.
Is it usually is, were they responding to a call? Was the call, within that realm of urgency? Right. If the call is for jaywalking, no, you don't have to speed to get to that call.
Right.
Loitering, public nuisance, whatever. But if you're talking about, a domestic violence situation, a bomb threat, something that has potential to turn really bad, homicidally bad, quickly.
Right.
That's a reasonable situation for that officer to be in.
Right.
And to be driving the way they are. So, yeah. Alrighty.
Now this is for probably our final segment of the show. At least from our audience. And of course, we want you guys to take in, even if you're on the replay. Comment below. Take it away.
Alrighty. Sorry, I still had to pull it up. Alrighty. Am I the asshole for making my boyfriend feel uncomfortable after he insisted on joining us on Girls' Night In? My boyfriend, male 27, started asking to join me in my Girls' Night In. Every time I tried to say no, he would be like, I have to join or you'll have to cancel. It made me and the girls miserable having to sit there with him in the middle. This past Friday, he insisted to join us again. I had enough. I came up with an idea to get him to hate hanging out with us, made a plan, and told the girls what we were going to do, and they were down for it. The girls came, and my boyfriend immediately sat with us and started ruining our conversations by steering them towards him or his work, his achievement. So here's what I did. I started bringing up gross, embarrassing subjects, and the girls were eating them up by talking about them in details. Subjects like sex, periods, his most sensitive spot, cramp, diarrhea, hairy legs, fart getting trapped in the vulva and coming out the front, squeezing shit out of our faces, dirty underwear, and again, cramp, diarrhea. We talked about this stuff in boring details. Like, I could feel his discomfort without even looking at him. But God, when I turned to see why he got quiet suddenly, he was getting red in the face and had sweat all over his forehead. I bet he found himself unable to relate to these subjects, thus couldn't take part in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He got up from the couch ready to head out. I looked at him and asked where he was going, and he was like, I just remembered that I have an important meeting with a guy in about 10 minutes, and I have to go now. He rushed out, telling us to have fun. The girls and I started laughing hysterically. He came home and berated me, saying I made him feel uncomfortable, sick with the horrible subjects I kept bringing up. I said, what are you talking about? This is the typical stuff girls talk about all the time. But he insisted I made him upset and caused him to leave. He declined to speak to me and has been quiet since then. Am I the asshole? Update.
No, wait for that.
Oh, no. Wait for that? Okay.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I love it. One, no. Sorry, I don't know what is causing him to want to be part of these girls' nights, other than being a controlling significant other. Like, we don't have enough detail, but I figure that's about where it is. So one, you're trying to involve yourself in a completely normal, typical thing,
right?
That you know, people want to hang out with not you. You know, they want to get away from their spouses, their, you know, whomevers, and, you know, have some time amongst themselves to be themselves and out you. Again, perfectly normal, totally acceptable, completely, absolutely fine. But you can't handle that. So you're forcing your way into it with an ultimatum. I think where she fucked up originally was she allowed it.
Right.
Like, you know, no, it's my girls' night. You're not a part of this. Like,
right.
You can check your insecurity at the door, or you can take your bag with you.
Right.
You know, you're done.
Right.
But having already allowed it even once, he kind of walked his way through that one. And then he pretty much ruined it.
Right.
Like, you know, even if you're like, if you're getting invited into that, it really isn't all about you. It's a girls' night. You kind of roll with the girls' night.
Right.
You know, it'll be okay. Two, the fact it was that easy.
Right.
Like, again, I have to jump back to the insecurities.
Right.
Like, apparently he's of the mindset that, you know, like, we don't talk about menstruation. We don't talk about, like, girl poop. Girls don't poop. You know, like, you just, I'm sorry, that's, like, total bullshit. Like, what the fuck? You know, I'm sorry, I have friends that can clog toilets. But, you know, that's just, you know, maybe your mileage varies. But no, like,
well, you know, when looking at this situation, I always look at situations like these through our eyes. Okay, we just hang out. We talk all the time. Normally, I'm the only guy in the room. Once in a while, there's another male witch, but not that often. Psychics talk. We hang out all the time. You get sometimes drug along, and now you've created your own little band. called the Husband Brigade.
Yeah. Well, the band was created just because it existed.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't the only husband drug along. See, look, over
Right.
there.
What I don't understand is why this boy isn't grabbing the other girls as boys and saying, the girls are staying there tonight. We know where they're at. Let's get the hell out of here. They can't come and trap us down.
Make your own fucking friends.
One of the two.
Make your own fucking friends. Go to a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Do something.
Right.
Find a hobby.
Right.
Like something.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that once a week and give her this time. Or more importantly, not force your way along with it.
Right.
Like, because I don't know if this is like the only reasonable, and
Right.
it's still not, but the only reasonable way I could see the situation if like she's hosting all of these.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be that every single time he's going to get thrown out of the house.
Right.
I'm not say see his point as much as I could see his frustration.
Right.
At like, again, you know what I mean? Like typically I would think this would be something you would kind of shuffle. You know what I mean? Like make it like a women's circle, you know, trade up houses.
Right.
But if you are constantly throwing him out for these, I could see the frustration that like, shit, I get thrown out of my house like once a week.
Right.
But then it be kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't usually use this phrase, but man the fuck up.
Right.
Like, and it's not even about gender. It's just like human the fuck up.
Right.
Like you're a grown adult.
Right.
You can get lost for a few hours.
Right.
Like you should be more than capable of this.
Right.
Like, you know, go harass your mama.
Right.
Like something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you can find somewhere else to be.
Right.
And it's not that big of a request.
Right.
Like you know, but to force yourself into it as a response, like I could see him being annoyed.
Right.
And being like, again, like, does it always have to be here?
Right.
I could support that argument.
Right.
I could support that argument. But to force yourself in, that's where you fucked up. Like,
right.
No. That's not the response.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can be annoyed that it's always at your house, that it's always you who's the one getting kicked out. And try to discuss that and be like, can y'all trade off? You know, like, come on.
Right.
Like, that's not cool. The only other thing would be if it's not a unilateral situation.
Mm-hmm.
As in, if he wants to go for a guy's night and she's like, no, I don't think so.
Right.
Then I could again have some respect for his argument. But then still, like, then I would have to wonder who played who.
Well, again, I have zero respect for his argument at all. Because, point blank, I can think of things to go do for an evening.
Mm-hmm.
I can go see Batman. I can go eat at the restaurants I enjoy eating at. I can go to a bar. As long as I don't drink, I can go to a bar.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm assuming they live in a bigger city. There are probably tons of shit he wants to go do, like hang out at Harbor Freight and debate the difference between a hinge nail and a hook nail.
Yeah. Again, like, you're a grown adult, you can find things to do. Now, but my argument was totally based on if he wanted to argue that, like, it's always our house, I'm the only one of these, you know, husband, spouses, whatever, getting kicked out. It's always me. They don't, you know, want to hang out with me, or we're not there. Like, I don't like them, whatever. You know, I could get the frustration and being like, does it always have to be our house? Like, do we have to be Girls Night Central?
Right.
Like, can you take it on the road? Like, let me have the house for a couple hours. I won't destroy it. I promise. you know,
So,
that I could understand.
right. So what's your rule? Is she the asshole for making the husband uncomfortable? Or the boyfriend?
No, she is so not the asshole. Like,
I agree. Not the asshole. He's a baby.
Yeah.
He is the asshole. However, we do have an update to share.
Okay. So, update. Y'all, wow, just got home and left this post at 70-ish comments, and here I am looking at hundreds of comments, but only read a bunch, you guys. Thank you so much for your feedback and enlightening advice. Just to add context, this is his apartment. He tells me who is and isn't allowed to come, and I thought this was fine since it's his place. Though I help with the bills, but he makes so much more as the head of security in his company. So that's that. I just can't believe how dense and blind I've been to his negative ways. He's still giving me the silent treatment, and I've decided it's just a lot to take, and so I'm temporarily moving in with one of the girls and will now be definitely reconsidering a few things. Just wanted to keep you guys updated since many of you got engaged in this post. Thank you so much for those DMing me their concerns. Appreciate your time and concerns. Many hugs go out to you guys. I really appreciate y'all.
Right.
Okay. With the update that it is his apartment, I do think that can sometimes be an ugly situation to be in. And I think this is like the big takeaway from that one edition. Don't move into someone's place with them if you can avoid it. And here's why I say that. Is because there is on both sides the kind of natural acceptance that it's their place, not yours. That they have control of the place, not you. That you need permission from them regarding their home. If you really listen to that, well, but there is a natural inclination to do that. Like it got established as his apartment. It remained his apartment. That's still, regardless of how long they've been together, what they're saying, what she's saying.
Right.
It's his place. She got stuck in that. That this was his place, you know, his house, his rules.
Right.
Which seems to also be where he got stuck at.
Right.
His place, his rules.
Right.
But that wasn't, like, that's not a tenable situation for anyone.
Right.
Like, so unless you can immediately go in and both of you can agree this is no longer his place or her place, it's your place, two people, plural.
Right.
Or however many people are involved, until you can get there.
Right.
Or if you can't, you will need to have a different place.
Right.
So that it either becomes you each have your own place, which is a perfectly acceptable relationship arrangement. Many people do it. Or you have to go together and find your own plural place.
Right.
So that you don't have either one of you with the his place, her place distinction.
Right. Well, and you know, I think that's a very interesting point, but at the same time, I think it's bullshit that it's his place. It stopped being his place when her makeup went onto the sink, and you know, her clothes went in the closet, and she began receiving mail at the address.
And more important, and on top of all that, started paying at least a portion of the bills. Even if it's not all of them.
Right.
Not that that's a requirement, but if you really want your backbone, by God, if you pay a utility, you live there, it's your place.
Exactly.
Like, that's, no. Right. Now, I can understand. And again, this is also some of the dynamics of relationships that when you don't pay utilities,
right,
it's also easier to get stuck in the his place, isn't mine. Her place isn't mine.
Right.
Like sometimes that is a distinction
Right.
that gets stuck in people's heads, because just because you live there,
Mm-hmm.
you still don't cross that threshold because,
Right.
well, he pays all the bills. Well, he does this, and it's his name on the lease, and it's blah, blah, blah. No, if you live there, it's your place.
Exactly.
And if you're not comfortable in your place, your own home, there's your big red flag for your relationship. If you still have to think in terms of his place, her place,
Mm-hmm.
to make it all make sense,
Mm-hmm.
there's a problem.
Right. There's a lot of problems with that statement in general. Now, how we've
Mhm.
handled it is we have a place. It is our place.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I don't own floors in our place. I'm teasing. Okay. But his floors are amazing. And I have no control over them whatsoever. Sorry, I have to give you grief on that. That was the only caveat he had to anything ever.
Right.
Like, I could, as long as I didn't harm the floors, I could knock the whole house down. As long as I don't touch the floors.
And
I
tell
can
them
paint,
why.
Well, because it is a large part of the value of the house, because you had it appraised, and that was what the appraiser said.
Right.
So protect the floors at all costs. Like, you can gut the rest of the house.
Right.
Like, you can take it down to studs, and you can blow air.
Right.
Like, you can throw a football through it. As long as the football doesn't hit the floors.
And specifically which floors?
The hardwood floors.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, and I get that. So that's my running joke on it is, I have a home. I do not have floors. I have a roof over my head and 4 walls. I do not, however, have anything under my feet.
Well, no, you've got the bathroom floor, the kitchen floor, the pantry floor, the office floor. You can do any damn thing you want to. Do not bother the hardwood in the living room, dining room, or bedrooms.
Yes.
Oh, and you have part of a hallway that you can decide what to do with.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can paint the walls whatever YouTube color you want to paint them. For the next 2 years.
For the next 2 years. Oh, except I can't use paint, so there's my problem.
Did that stop you?
Well, not then.
So it doesn't stop you now.
But you were more encouraged then. You I was a fly. You were a spider. You were trying to get me in your parlor. Like, side note to anyone, that is when you have the most control in your relationship. Let me tell you now. Like, when he be doing the, come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. You can ask for a lot.
I gave you a choice on that. I said you can either move into my house, or I will go to the bank, put my house up, and buy the house you're in. And what was your answer?
Was no, I'd rather take the house that is already paid for and not have a mortgage than to keep the house that would then have a mortgage and also need a number of repairs in this pretty near future. Mm-hmm. That would probably, coupled with a mortgage, be a little more than we could handle. Mm-hmm. That was my whole comment. Sorry.
Your comment was, no, we'll move to Oak Hill.
Well, no, that was the final discussion on it, but the whole discussion, just so we're clear, it wasn't like I was being weird. Like, there was a whole thought process.
Right.
Is that financially we would be doing better to have a paid off house, mm-hmm. and then be able to put any money we would have been using towards a mortgage towards upgrades, repairs, and fixes, mm-hmm. than to have a house that wasn't that much newer, that did have known issues, mm-hmm. And effectively, yeah, we're going to delay a little, but in a few years, it's going to kind of catch up.
Right.
And we would have a mortgage.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
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 But no, there was discussion over that. There was no come into my parlor. Oh, don't worry about anything. It was like, no, you make the decision. We can either redecorate this house and you move in and you get 5 years on the paint colors.
Well, but see, you were way more agreeable to paint colors, though.
I was.
Like, whatever. I don't care what color you paint. I don't care. No, you can paint any color you want. You put the paint on the walls even. Didn't say a word. By God, I moved in. The first thing I heard was I am living in a YouTube studio with a black and white bathroom.
I told you that up front. And yes, I did object to 2 colors.
Which ones?
The original bathroom color and the original kitchen color. Because there is one rule in my house, in the house painting.
Okay.
I do not live in a sanitarium.
Yeah, he couldn't tolerate white. I grew up I grew up with the sanitary hospital Arctic white bathroom and kitchen in gloss, applied with a trowel. And I'm not kidding. That's what Mom did. Like for both rooms, and her whole theory is those are both messy rooms. You will be scrubbing stuff off of walls. You won't even know how it got there.
Right.
And you want it to be as easy as possible. And you want to be able to see where it is clean and where it isn't. So you can just get it all. Just go ahead, get it all.
I only have 2 regrets on painting the house.
Okay.
Regret number 1 is I wish we had painted the ceilings a different color.
I wish we had found better paint for the ceilings. I do hate the paint that we got for the ceilings. That was crap.
Right. I hate the white we put on there. Next color will probably be sky blue. It'll make you feel better.
Okay. Okay. And regret number 2.
And regret number 2 is the kitchen.
What?
I really think we should have put a backsplash in there.
Oh, okay. Well, granted, that was part of a longer term plan.
Yeah.
Like we were doing the kitchen temporarily, and the longer term plan is we are gutting the kitchen.
Yeah.
And redoing it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why we skipped like doing any upgrades. It was like just throw some fucking paint on it.
Right. Which, we're going to do some stuff here, and we'll probably YouTube it just for the hell of it. To make the kitchen a little bit more sustainable for my life. Probably within the next month and a half.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry. Huh? Oh, right. Okay. I'm getting it now. It took me a second. I was like, what?
We're putting the pot rack in.
Yeah.
We're putting in another 4x4. Or another 6x6.
Yeah.
Storage. Yep. And I'm going to put something I'm going to pull a dad trick.
I'm sorry. You're going to take inspiration from the man that has driven nails through our wall and into the neighbor's house?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm putting in a backsplash-ish type of contact paper.
Okay. No, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I was just I had to I had to go there. Well, it's required. Like the nails we have pulled out of these walls, I got to get some traction off of that.
Oh, no, honey. Those aren't the nails I'm worried about. I'm worried about the nails we can't get out of the wall.
Fair.
Because there's two in your room, and you're in our bedroom. I almost said his bedroom because when we're in general conversation, we have to break up the bedrooms by his and his.
Yeah. True. But no, like, yeah. No, I've given up on the nails coming out of the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I'm afraid a power pole will fall over.
I don't know. A hammer will not pull them out, and they won't go any farther forward. So that tells me they're hitting the outside wall.
Yeah.
And they're in the outside wall, so they're going to have to get I'm going to have to get the lovely whatever it does this thing and take them down.
Oh, saw the heads off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, saw the heads and about that much off of them.
Fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Oh.
Well, guys, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. I'll try to remember this episode. We will be back on Tuesday unless I pull another stunt.
Yeah, we hope so. But no, it's been a fun night, even if it hasn't been the perfect night. We hope you guys have had a wonderful April Fool's Day with none of the annoying tricks and jokes. We tried to be fun and funny, without being harmful. Like, no bears were harmed during this making of mountain bears.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I don't know. I'll find out after the show. I get show notes. Like, I may find out differently. But anyway, we would love to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Giz, Shannon C, Shannon D, the ever wonderful Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, and Dottie the Psychic for their support. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our baristas by becoming one of our wonderful Patreon sponsors, please visit pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And come back and see us next Tuesday at 9:30. Now, remember to do the YouTube-y things and the Facebook-y things. Make sure to give us a reaction. Make sure to give us a like. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel. And if you're a rewatch crew, make sure to leave us a comment in the bottom about what you think about Are You an Asshole? And any other topics. We want to hear from you. All right, guys. You guys have a magical weekend, and we'll see you later.
Bye.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder.